Yeah, hi everyone, Mr. Markwick here again. Today's video I'm going to show you how to sketch a parabola that's in standard form. Again, I'm going to use factorization, but the example I'm going to show you today actually it's got two steps. So we're going to factorize not just using the one step, removing a common factor, or one step sum and products, or one step perfect square. It's actually going to be two steps. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's actually start by looking at the equation and determining our Y-intercept. Okay, Y-intercept is always the easiest thing to find, the easiest key feature of a parabola. Again, just substitute into the equation x equals 0. But when we see standard form, okay, if I substitute in x equals 0 into this equation, it's going to give me positive 24. So without even going through that process, I can tell you your Y-intercept is going to be at the point 0, positive 24. Let's fix that for it. Now, from there, I want to work out my X-intercepts. Now, this is where it's a little bit trickier. X-intercepts are always a little bit trickier. Again, though, we're substituting in y equals 0 because we're going to factorize and then use the null factor law to solve. So, 0 equals 3x squared plus 18x plus 24. And this is what I mean by the two steps I've got. So before I can actually factorize this, although it's got three terms, before I can use the sum and product, I have to remove a common factor from those three terms. And there is a common factor between those three terms. Hopefully you're good enough at being able to identify those by now. It is the 3. So the 3 comes out the front. I'm left with x squared inside plus 18x divided by 3 is 6x, and positive 24 divided by 3 is positive 8. So that's my first step. I've removed the common factor. The second step now is to look at the inside of that bracket and see if I can factorize it fully. And I can using sum and product method, which means two numbers that multiply to give me positive 8 and add together to give me, in this case, positive 6. Do you know what those two numbers are? Good. 3 still stays there. Set up your two sets of brackets. It's x plus, what are the two numbers? 4 and 2. So 2, they're both positives, so plus 2 and plus 4. So 2 times 4 is 8, 2 plus 4 is 6. That's where we get those two numbers from. Now, here I'm going to use, that's fully factorized. Now I'm going to use the null factor law to solve. Now, at this point, it doesn't matter if that was the positive 2 or the positive 4 there. And I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, null factor law tells us that if this times by this equals 0, that first term, which is 3 times by x plus 2 equals 0, or x plus 4, which is the second term, equals 0. Now we're pretty comfortable working with that second part. So if x plus 4 equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0, then x equals minus 4. Okay, but this next part, I've got to get rid of that 3 first. So I guess the way I sort of teach it is to divide by 3 on both sides to remove that 3. If I divide 0 by 3, it's still 0. So that's why it doesn't really matter. I'm now left with x plus 2 still equals 0. That's why it didn't really matter whether I had the 4 or the 2 on that side, because that 3 really, at this point when I'm using the null factor law, is irrelevant. Alright? We're still going to factorize it first and take it out, don't get me wrong. But when we're at the null factor point, it doesn't really matter because it becomes 0 divided by whatever that common factor is, which is still 0. So anyway, this gives me now x equals, if x plus 2 equals 0, then x equals minus 2. So there are my two x-intercepts. Minus 2, 0, and minus 4, 0. And you can see there's just a little bit of an extra step. Okay, here's my first step of factorizing by removing the common factor. And here I fully factorized it by using the sum and product method. Okay, got my Y-intercepts. Not Y-intercept. I've got my X-intercepts. Next thing I need to work out is my turning point. But before I can do that when it's in standard form, it's not in turning point form, so I've got to work out the axis of symmetry first in order to do that. So the axis of symmetry is either the average of these two values, or I can use the formula x equals minus b over 2a. I'm going to work out the average of these two numbers. So x equals minus 2 plus minus 4 over 2. Divided by 2 because there's two values there. So axis of symmetry is minus 2 plus minus 4, which is minus 6. Divided by 2 gives me minus 3. So axis of symmetry, x equals minus 3. That's not that relevant apart from I want to use it to determine my vertex. So with my vertex, I'm going to substitute into the original equation x equals minus 3. That's the x value in the vertex. Subbing that in will give me the y value. So the y value is now equal to 3, sorry, I'm using this original equation again, times, instead of x, I'm using minus 3 squared plus 18 times minus 3 plus 24. Okay, so 3 times minus 3 squared is 9 times 3 is 27. 18 times minus 3, let's do 20 times minus 3 is 60. Take away the 6 is minus 54 plus 24. So the y value is, working left to right, 27 take 54. Well, 27 is half of 54, so that's minus 27 plus 24 gives me minus 3. So the other value of my, well, the y value of my vertex is minus 3, giving me the coordinates. A little bit confusing. Minus 3, minus 3. Okay, so there you have it, guys. I've got my Y-intercept, X-intercepts, and vertex. All the key features you need to draw your parabola, or sketch your parabola, rather. I'm not going to sketch it on a set of axes, but guys, hopefully that's not too foreign to you. Once you've got those key features, that's pretty straightforward, I would have thought. So there you go, guys. Sketching a parabola, it's in standard form. The difference between this video and one of the other ones I've done is that, yes, this one actually had those two steps of factorising rather than just the one. So hopefully this helps if you do see a question that you're asked to sketch that is in standard form, but has a value of a that's not necessarily 1. It could be -1 as well. Okay, remember, sometimes taking out a common factor, taking out that -1 is important as well before you can do the sum of products. Anyway, hopefully that helps, guys. Thanks for watching and good luck.